The sky was quiet that morning, no sound of birds, no hum of ships, just the strange silence that made the soldiers uneasy. Commander Rylan stood on the edge of the rocky cliff, staring at the horizon. Earth had signed a peace deal with the alien kingdoms months ago. The war was supposed to be over, but something felt wrong. He turned to his unit, all standing in silence, their eyes scanning the skies. Then the warning sirens began to wail. Red lights flashed. Radar screens blinked wildly. And in the distance, small black dots began to appear, hundreds of them. "They're back," Rylan muttered, his jaw tight. The alien fleet wasn't just coming for a warning. It came in full force, massive battleships blocking the sun, their shadows falling like a curtain of doom. People on the ground screamed and ran for shelter. But the soldiers knew they had no time to hide. The skies turned red as plasma fire filled the air. Earth's defenses answered with everything they had. Explosions shook the ground. Raylan's squad scattered, some yelling commands, others firing upward, trying to hit the fast-moving enemy ships. But it wasn't just a battle, it was a message. In the middle of the chaos, a huge alien dropship crashed into the Earth base, not with violence, but precision. It landed with a loud thud, and the soldiers around it froze. The hatch opened slowly. Smoke poured out. And then she walked out. An alien woman, tall, glowing softly with a strange light. Her gown shimmered like a sea of red and gold. Her eyes held power, sadness, and something else. Something almost human. The soldiers pointed their weapons, but she raised one hand and spoke. Her voice was soft, like a breeze across water. "I come alone. I do not bring death. I bring a message." No one moved. Even the II scanners couldn't read her species. She wasn't just any alien, she was royalty. Rylan stepped forward, lowering his weapon slowly. "What message?" She looked directly at him. "From the Queen. The war was never meant to begin. Something has gone wrong. Our leaders have been betrayed. But now the Queen sends me with a task to speak only to the one they call Rylan of the Sky Division." His heart froze. How did she know his name? He didn't have time to think. More alien soldiers began dropping from the sky, but they weren't fighting. They were forming a circle around her, guarding her. The Earth Command shouted orders in Rylan's earpiece, demanding answers. Who is she? Detain her. Protect the base. But something deep in Rylan said not to harm her. The alien woman slowly stepped closer and placed a small glowing cube into his hand. "Take me to your leader if you must. But this holds the Queen's truth. Watch it before you decide." Then she did something no one expected. She bowed. Rylan took a deep breath and looked around. His soldiers were confused, unsure, afraid. And above them, the battle was still going, but it was weaker now. Like both sides were unsure of why they were even fighting. He tapped his comms. "Stand down. All units hold fire." Gasps followed his order. "Sir, are you?" I said, "Hold fire. Escort this delegate to Central Command." "I'll go with her." The alien woman nodded once, her expression calm. She wasn't scared. She was waiting. As they moved toward the main base, Rylan glanced at her again. "Who are you?" Her voice was soft but carried weight. "I am the Queen's voice, but soon she will speak to you herself." Behind them, smoke rose into the sky. Ships hung in the air, waiting. Earth soldiers and alien forces paused, watching the small group walk side by side into the base. None of them knew yet that this war wasn't just about land or pride. It was about a forgotten promise, a bond never made, and a decision that would change the future of both species forever. The command room was tense. Human generals stood behind reinforced glass, watching Rylan escort the alien woman inside. Every camera focused on her. Her steps were graceful, silent, and confident. No fear, no hesitation. Rylan placed the glowing cube on the table. "She brought this," he said, not breaking eye contact with the generals. She said it's from the Queen herself. One of the tech officers stepped forward, scanning the cube with a trembling hand. It's not a bomb, it's a data stream. Encrypted with alien royal codes. Open it, the general ordered. The lights dimmed. The cube floated into the air, spinning slowly. Then a holographic image burst to life, a tall figure in an elegant crimson dress, wearing a golden crown with glowing gems. Her face was beautiful, but her eyes carried pain. She spoke in perfect English, her voice soft and clear, to the leaders of Earth, and to the one called Rylan of the Sky Division. I am Queen Aravel of House Trinyari. What you see now is not war, it is the collapse of peace we once tried to build. The room fell silent. I never ordered the attack on your planet, she continued. Our forces were hijacked. A faction within my court betrayed me, and used my name to strike first. The hologram flickered briefly, then resumed. I am seeking not just peace but connection. There is one among you who holds the key to ending this conflict. The Queen's image looked directly at Rylan. You. The generals looked at him with disbelief. She can't mean him, one whispered, but the alien woman standing in the room, still silent, finally nodded. She means exactly him, she said softly. Why? The general barked. Why Rylan? The alien woman replied, because the Queen saw what he did on Thalara. He saved a royal envoy without knowing who she was. He risked his life for peace. She's been watching ever since. Rylan's face turned pale. That envoy, that was years ago, the alien nodded. And it changed everything. Confused murmurs filled the room. Was this a trap? Some psychological trick? The Queen's image continued. I do not ask for surrender. I ask for understanding. And I ask that Rylan come to me. Not as a soldier, not as a weapon, but as a guest. The message ended. The cube slowly dimmed and landed softly on the table. Silence. Rylan stared at it, heart pounding. She wants me to... what? Visit her? The alien woman stepped closer. She wants to show you the truth and make an offer. What kind of offer? She will tell you herself. But I was ordered to deliver this as well. She reached into her robe and handed Rylan a ring alien in design, with a shifting gem at its center. The second his hand touched it, he felt warmth like it recognized him. She calls it a symbol, the alien said. Not of power, of possibility. One of the generals slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. We can't send one of our best officers into enemy space, especially not alone. But Rylan didn't answer right away. His mind was racing. He remembered that moment on Thalara. The girl he saved from falling debris. The way she had looked at him before being taken away by her guards. Could that really have been the Queen? He turned to the alien woman. Is it safe? She answered with a single nod. No weapon will be raised against you. You have my life if it is. He looked at the ring again. The room was waiting on him. He took a deep breath. Tell your Queen, he said slowly. I'll come. The alien bowed. The mission was set. Rylan would be sent into the heart of alien territory. No armor, no army, only trust. And a strange connection that started years ago. What he didn't know was that the Queen wasn't just waiting. She had prepared everything for him. The ship was silent inside. It didn't feel like a warship. The walls were smooth, glowing with soft golden light. It was more like a temple than a transport vessel. Rylan sat near a large window, watching the stars move past in gentle curves. The alien woman, who introduced herself as Elenya, sat across from him. They had left Earth just an hour ago. But already the human systems were far behind. I still don't understand, Rylan said, breaking the silence. Why me? Elenya looked at him calmly. The Queen doesn't see titles. She sees actions. You did something no warrior, no prince, no ambassador ever did. "I just pulled someone from rubble," he muttered. "You did it with no armor. No weapons. You didn't even know she was royal. You just acted," Elenya said softly. In her eyes that made you worthy of her trust. The stars brightened as they approached the edge of alien space. A massive planet appeared ahead, Trinyaros, the royal homeworld. It glowed blue and silver, covered in shining towers and floating cities. Dozens of defense satellites turned toward the ship but didn't fire. Rylan stared out in wonder. So this is it, her world. "She rules not just the land, but the hearts of many," Elenya said. "But lately, she's been more alone than ever." As the ship entered the atmosphere, Rylan could feel a soft hum under his feet. It wasn't the engine, it was like the ship itself was alive. The docking platform was lined with alien guards, their armor decorated with red and gold. But none of them reached for their weapons, they bowed. Elenya led Raylan through wide crystal halls that shimmered like water. Alien attendants watched silently as they passed. Everyone seemed to know who he was, even though none had ever met him. At last, they reached two tall golden doors. They opened with a soft whoosh, and there she was. Queen Aravel stood alone, in the center of a great throne room. The sunlight behind her made her golden crown sparkle like fire. Her dress was even more beautiful than in the message, flowing red, lined with energy threads that softly pulsed with light. But her face was calm, gentle, and filled with something Raylan didn't expect. Nervousness. She took a small step forward. "You came," Raylan nodded. "I did." For a moment, no one spoke. Then she smiled. "Do you remember me?" she asked. Raylan squinted slightly, and then it hit him. Her face was the same, just older. Stronger. "You were the envoy girl." She laughed softly. "I was supposed to be protected. My guards failed, you didn't." "I didn't even know who you were," he said. "Exactly," she whispered. "You saved me without gain. That's rare in any world." She motioned for him to follow her to a private chamber. The guards did not enter. Only Elenya remained at the door. Inside, the queen sat near a large round pool, its waters glowing with silver patterns. "I did not bring you here for politics," she said softly. "I brought you here for truth." Raylan sat across from her, still cautious. "What truth?" She reached out her hand. "That I never wanted war. That someone in my court twisted orders and used my name to attack Earth. That I've been watching you ever since that day, hoping to find a way to stop the bleeding." He didn't take her hand yet. "And now?" "Now," she said, "ask you something no queen has ever asked a human." She leaned closer. "I ask, would you stand with me? Not as a soldier, not as a symbol, but as someone I trust. Someone I might," she hesitated, "someone I might one day love." Raylan froze. This wasn't a mission anymore. It wasn't about battle. It was personal. "You don't know me," he said carefully. "I know enough," she whispered. "And I want to know more." They sat in silence. The only sound was the soft trickle of the glowing pool between them. And then she did something unexpected. She hugged him, softly, gently, like someone who had waited a very long time, and for the first time in years, Raylan didn't feel like a soldier. He felt seen. For the first time in his life, Rylan was surrounded by beauty and peace, but still couldn't relax. The queen's touch was gentle, her words honest, and yet something deep inside him stayed alert. A soldier's instincts never fully sleep. Queen Aravel had given him a private chamber to rest. The walls shimmered with soft golden light, and the ceiling showed a sky full of stars. The bed was soft, and alien music played gently in the background. But sleep wouldn't come. He kept hearing her voice. "Someone in my court twisted the orders. Someone wanted this war. Someone still did." At breakfast the next morning, the queen was dressed in a simple white gown, her crown gone, her red hair braided. She looked less like a ruler and more like a woman trying to carry a mountain. "There are whispers," she said, as they walked through the palace garden. "Some of my council do not approve of a human in our halls, especially one I trust." Rylan looked around. The guards were silent. The flowers were blooming, but shadows moved too easily between the trees. "I need to know who betrayed you," he said. "Before they try again." She nodded. "I have a name, but no proof. He's a high lord, respected, loved. Then we get the proof." The queen hesitated, then led him to an underground hall. Inside was a sealed archive guarded by ancient AI sentries. No one had entered it for years. She placed her hand on the scanner. It blinked, then opened with a soft hiss. Inside were rows of crystal scrolls, each holding secrets, orders, military codes. She stopped near one. "This one, a battle order." "It looks like mine, but I never gave it." Rylan picked it up. The signature was perfect. The seal was royal. "A forgery?" "Yes," she whispered, "but a dangerous one. Whoever did this has access to the core archive." Before they could speak further, a blast rocked the chamber. Dust fell from the ceiling. The door slammed shut. They were locked inside. Rylan drew his sidearm. That wasn't an accident. Another explosion echoed, closer this time. Queen Aravel looked calm, but her eyes told a different story. "They're trying to bury us here. I won't let that happen." He found a control panel and started bypassing the system. The queen watched silently, hands glowing faintly with alien energy. "I didn't know humans could hack alien tech," she said with a faint smile. "I had a good teacher." "A grumpy alien engineer during peace duty," he replied, fingers working fast. "He taught me 3 things. 1, don't trust clean cables. 2, always carry your own fuse. And 3, never drink alien tea." The queen laughed, despite the danger. "I'll keep that in mind." The door cracked open with a hiss. Smoke poured in, but no enemies yet. Rylan took her hand. "Stay behind me." They ran through narrow corridors. The palace was under emergency lockdown. Red lights flashed. Guards were running, but some of them wore the wrong colors. "Rogue units. They're here," the queen whispered. "They're trying to remove me, tonight." "Not on my watch," Rylan growled. In a sudden moment, they were cornered. 3 traitor guards raised plasma rifles. The queen stepped forward, lifting her hand. "No blood will be spilled in this palace," she said firmly. They hesitated, but one still fired. Rylan stepped in front of her. The blast hit his side. He dropped to one knee but fired back, hitting the enemy soldier in the leg. The other guards backed off. The queen raised her hand and sent a wave of glowing energy across the hall, disarming them. Her power was not just beauty, it was strength. She dropped beside Rylan, touching his side. "You're bleeding," he winced. "Small wound, I've had worse." "You protected me again," she whispered, eyes wide. "Just a habit at this point." She helped him stand, her hand not leaving his arm. "We have to get to the high chamber. If they take control tonight, there will be war by morning." "I'll get you there," he said, his voice firm. She looked into his eyes. "Why?" he answered without thinking. "Because I believe in you." And once again, she looked at him. Like no one ever had, like she wasn't a queen, but something more human. The throne room was no longer a place of peace. It was filled with voices loud, angry, afraid. The royal council had gathered in a rush, summoned by the emergency signal. Some still wore their night robes. Others arrived in full ceremonial armor, acting more like warriors than leaders. Queen Aravel entered the chamber, walking tall despite the chaos. Raylan followed closely behind her, his side still bandaged, his steps steady. His uniform was torn, his arm bruised, but his eyes were sharp. At the center of the chamber, the council's High Lord Lord Varek stood waiting. His dark robe flowed like shadows around him, and his long silver hair gleamed under the halls. "Light." He bowed slightly when the queen appeared. "My queen," he said calmly. "We heard rumors of an explosion. You were nearly harmed?" "I was not harmed," she answered coldly. "But someone tried to bury me alive in the archive chamber." Gasps spread across the room. Virex raised one brow. "And who would dare?" "Such a thing." The queen turned to her council. "That is what we're here to find out. Tonight I present a charge. A charge of treason." Silence fell like a stone. She motioned, and one of her loyal guards stepped forward with the forged battle order. This was discovered in the restricted archives. A forged command, made to look like it came from me. It was the order that led to the first strike against Earth. Murmurs broke out again. Council members turned to each other, whispering. Rylan stepped forward. "This war, everything we've lost, it started with that lie." Virex gave him a hard look. "And what would a human soldier know of our politics?" "I know enough," Rylan said firmly. "I was there when your queen nearly died. I saw her palace turn against her. I bled for her." Virex laughed softly. "Touching, truly, but still your word means little here." Then Queen Aravel spoke again. "Then how about proof?" She lifted her hand, and from her palm projected a memory crystal recorded in secret. It showed a shadowed figure giving commands, rewriting orders, placing the forged seal. And when the figure stepped into the light, it was Virex. The room erupted. Guards drew weapons. Council members shouted. Virex took a step back but did not run. Instead he clapped slowly. So he said, voice calm, "You finally found it. I wondered how long it would take." "You betrayed your queen," one counselor shouted. "I saved our empire," Virex roared back. "You were too soft. Too willing to trust the humans. I did what had to be done. War made us strong again. You used my name to kill thousands." Aravel said, her voice shaking with fury. "They would have bowed eventually. But now you stand here next to him?" Virex spat, pointing at Rylan. "A human? Is this what we are now, beggars at Earth's feet?" "No," she said. Softly, "we are better than war. And he is better than any traitor who wears silk and pretends to love peace." Rylan raised his weapon. "You're done." But before he could act, Virex raised his hand and the ground shook. A hidden device activated under the chamber floor. Massive energy pulsed through the room, knocking out the lights. Half the guards were thrown back. Others scrambled. "He has a failsafe." Someone yelled. Virex turned and ran toward the secret passage behind the throne. The queen called out, "Don't let him escape." Rylan was already moving, pain forgotten. He chased the traitor through the halls, past fallen guards and collapsing walls. Virex was fast for an old man. But Rylan was faster. They reached the tower's edge. Virex stopped, cornered. Below them, the city lights glowed like stars. "This isn't over." Virex growled. "It is," Rylan said, raising his weapon. "Step down, or I make you." Virex smirked. "You'd shoot an unarmed man?" "You're never unarmed." In one swift motion, Virex reached for a hidden blade, but Rylan shot first. The traitor dropped, the weapon clattering on the floor. Moments later, Queen Aravel arrived with her guards. She looked at Virex's lifeless form, then at Rylan. "You ended it," she whispered. He didn't answer. He was breathing hard, his hand shaking slightly. She stepped forward and took his hand. "You didn't just save me, you saved my world." But deep inside, Rylan knew it wasn't finished yet. Something else was growing between them, and the queen felt it too. Asterisk. The palace was quiet after the storm. Lord Virex was gone. The traitors had been exposed, and the queen's rule was safe once more. But the cost had left a scar on the palace, on the kingdom, and on Queen Aravel's heart. She stood at the highest balcony, watching the twin moons rise over her city. The stars shimmered gently above her crown. The air smelled of fresh energy from the repaired shields. Behind her, the council prepared celebrations. The people were chanting her name across the capital, but her mind wasn't on Power Dot, it was on the human who stood silently behind her. Rylan watched her closely. His wound was healing, and his uniform had been replaced by formal robes offered by the palace. They felt strange on him, too soft, too elegant, but tonight wasn't about war. "You should be down there," he said quietly. "Your people are waiting." "They have waited before," she replied. "They will wait a little longer." She turned to him, her eyes glowing faintly. "They cheer for a queen. But they don't know what it cost me, or who helped me carry that weight." Rylan stepped closer. "They'll know one day. When peace lasts," she smiled faintly. "Will it last? If you lead them?" "Yes." She studied his face for a long moment. Then she spoke softly. "Rylan, there's something I must ask. Not as a queen, not as a ruler, but as a woman." His breath caught. "I never thought I'd ask this of a human. I never thought I'd feel this way for one," she continued. "But you've become more than just a symbol. You've stood with me, fought beside me, bled for my people." "I did what I had to do," he said. "You did more," she replied. She stepped closer until they stood face to face. "In our tradition," she said slowly, "when one saves the crown without asking for reward, that person may be offered more than thanks." Rylan raised an eyebrow. "What kind of offer?" She took his hand gently. "The bond of ruling side by side, of sharing heart and throne." His eyes widened. "You mean?" "I mean," she whispered, "will you stay? Rylan? Will you become my king?" The air went still between them. For a moment, it felt like time had stopped, just the stars above. The queen, and one human whose life had changed forever. "I don't belong here," he said quietly. "I'm not like them." "No," she said. "You're better." He looked down at her hand in his. "And your people? They trust me. And I trust you. That's how it begins." He didn't answer right away. He looked at the city below at the lights, the alien songs, the children laughing near the gardens. Then he looked back at her. "I didn't come here to become a king." She nodded, her eyes dimming slightly. "But," he added, "I didn't come here to leave you either." Hope returned to her face. "I don't know your customs," he continued. "I don't know your ways. But I know you. And if this is where I'm needed," he took a deep breath, "then I'll stay." She smiled, not as a queen, but as a woman who had waited too long for something real. She leaned forward, resting her forehead gently against his. "Then let it begin." Later that night, the palace square was filled with lights and cheers. The queen stood on the grand balcony, her voice echoing across the city. "Tonight we mark the end of betrayal and the beginning of a new bond." The people waited. She reached out, and Rylan stepped into the light beside her. Some gasped, others cheered. A few stared in silence. She held his hand. This human did not come as a conqueror, but as a savior. He is not just a guest. He is now one of us. The cheers grew louder. Even those who doubted before now clapped, shouted, raised their hands to the sky. And in that moment, Rylan didn't feel like a stranger. He felt home. But in the shadows beyond the light, someone watched. A whisper echoed through the dark halls. The queen has chosen a human, but not all will accept it. Even as love bloomed, danger stirred again. The final choice was yet to come. The golden bells of Trinyaros rang across the sky. It was the day of the Unity Ceremony, a tradition older than most planets. A time when a ruler offered not just her crown, but her heart. For centuries, it had always been to another of royal blood, another of their kind. But not today. Today, the queen had chosen a human. Rylan stood in a ceremonial robe beside Queen Aravel. The palace gardens had been transformed into a sea of light and color. Hundreds of citizens had gathered. Nobles from distant star systems had arrived to witness this moment. The stars above were aligned in a rare formation, marking the night of promise. Yet beneath the joy, tension quietly pulsed. Raylan had seen the cold glances, heard the whispers. A human can't rule us. He doesn't belong. She's blinded by emotion. He understood their fear. He had lived his whole life with walls between species, between duty and feeling. But now, for the first time, he had chosen something, someone, for himself, and she had chosen him. Queen Aravel raised her hand and silence fell. "We have survived betrayal," she spoke, her voice clear and strong. "We have seen war, and we have seen peace. But peace is not kept by swords. It is kept by trust." She turned to Rylan. This man came not with an army, but with courage. Not with pride, but with heart. "I offer him not just my rule, but my soul," Rylan stepped forward. "I didn't come here to take a throne. I came here to stop a war, and I stayed. Because I found something worth staying for." A gentle wave of cheers followed, but not all clapped. From the shadows near the noble rose, a figure moved. Dressed in a dark robe, eyes filled with fire. It was one of Varex's old allies. A forgotten name, but a dangerous one, and in his hand, a weapon. Raylan saw it a split second before the beam fired. He leapt forward, pushing the queen aside. The energy bolt grazed his shoulder, but he didn't stop. He tackled the attacker to the ground as guards swarmed in. The crowd screamed. The music stopped. The queen knelt beside Raylan, who was bleeding again. "Why?" she whispered. "Why do you keep doing this?" He smiled weakly. "Because you keep needing saving." She held his face in her hands, tears in her eyes. "Not anymore." She stood and turned to the attacker, now pinned by royal guards. "Take him to the deepest chamber. Let his name fade from history." Then she turned to the crowd. "This is why I chose him, not because he is strong, but because he is willing to be weak for those he loves." Raylan stood again, despite the pain. "You're not alone anymore." And this time, no one questioned it. The ceremony continued. The sacred oath was spoken. A glowing band, made of both human steel and alien crystal, was placed on his hand. The queen's crown shifted with light, forming a twin one made for him. And as they stood together before their people, the light between them grew brighter than the twin moons. Later that night, in the quiet of the royal chambers, Aravel leaned on his shoulder. "You're a king now," she teased softly. He chuckled. "Weirdest job I ever took," she smiled. "Do you regret it?" He shook his head. "Not for a second." She touched his hand. "There will be more trouble, more enemies. Are you ready?" He looked into her eyes. "With you, always." Outside, the stars shimmered over a city that once feared war but now dreamed of unity. And in the heart of that dream, a human and a queen stood together, not by force, not by destiny, but by choice.